Yep, this phone, the one I use every day, that's the 11 Pro Max. The first phone to ever make me ask this question: will I ever need a new phone again? In this video, I'm gonna attempt to answer that question in light of all of the iPhone 13 releases that came up a couple weeks ago now. Do I feel like I don't need to upgrade because of how great the iPhone 11 is? Or because of how underwhelming this new series of phones are? Okay, so I know I just angered a ton of Apple fanboys watching this video right now, but before you go down and comment, hey, Apple's the best, you suck, why do you still have that outdated dinosaur phone? I am an Apple fanboy. That's right, I love Apple. Everything I have is Apple. I'm using the iPad mini on my notes right now. I'm using my MacBook Pro to record this. I have an iPhone. Like, I'm not an Android guy. I'm on your team. But I really think that as consumers and fanboys, it's our responsibility to talk about what's wrong and what's going on, to call out the things that we don't like about that leader or about that company or that business. All that being said, I think that the first place to start is, what was this update? I'm sure you've watched a lot of videos by now since this is a couple weeks out. I want to do a quick recap of everything that's changed in the iPhone 13 and break down if it's really worth upgrading to the 13 or not. So the first thing that I noticed and everyone noticed was the design. It went back to the squared off design. Now, I know that the 12 did that actually originally, but me as an iPhone 11 user, I'm looking at the differences from then. If you have an iPhone 12 and you're thinking about the 13, I think that there's not much to think about. But for me, that return to the squared off design is a big deal. This was Apple's way of highlighting how great that design was in the first place back when the iPhone 4 came out and the 4S, two of the best-selling Apple phones of all time. So yeah, it's a great look and feel. It's actually my favorite and it brings me back to good memories. But does that make it worth upgrade? I really guess that's up to the consumer and up to you. Me personally, as I hold my iPhone 11 still 2 weeks after the release, yeah, I guess I don't really care that much. Okay, now the other thing that they added was a newer A15 Bionic chip, which made the phone faster.
It's the fastest CPU in any smartphone.
Right, we're not talking cellular-wise, you know, all the 5G stuff is out. It just makes the phone work faster in and of itself. And I'm gonna be completely honest here. I think that once the iPhone 11 came out, and honestly since the 10, I think that speed in a phone has become so fast and so quick that every kind of form of progression is incremental because it's already been great. So when I'm looking at, do I need this new device? Do I need to upgrade? I don't think that if you have an iPhone 11 or later, you really need to worry about the speed of your phone. I don't have any issues with the speed of my phone, and I'm one of those people, you know, with my computers, it needs to be quick, it needs to be fast, so it obviously translates to my phones, and I just don't see the hype around that. The things that really matter are your cellular data and Wi-Fi. That's what makes it faster for most of the things that we need. But in terms of UI, UX, and like the way that the phone works, not that big of a change for me. So now the part that has been talked about the most, there are better cameras and they have introduced cinematic mode to video. Now you guys know I'm a content creator. I'm a videographer and photographer. So for me, you know, this is a big deal. Having a camera or a good set of cameras on a phone, it's pretty big. You know, the new phones have done a great job of putting together a good set of cameras on this iPhone 13. They have improved the sensor size, the base aperture width or circumference. They've improved the aperture of the cameras, and those are important changes to make. And they do make somewhat of a difference. But in my book, those changes don't make me go, wow, this is crazy. To me, the iPhone 11 that I'm rocking, like the portrait mode, everything that's been placed in this iPhone, it's still comparable to the 13. And if we're talking cameras and we're talking content creation, then I gotta be honest, like when I'm looking at a new camera that's coming out, what am I looking for? If they're just saying that it's like 2 megapixels, you know, more than what it has, or if they're saying that the camera has like one more stop of dynamic range, like I'm not gonna go out of my way to sell my camera and go through all that process and buy that new one if it's a slight change. And I think that matters in iPhones as well. Like I don't think if I'm going for the cameras and I have a Pro Max from the 11 or the 12, that's not a significant change when we're talking camera. To prove that, I saw a tweet from one of my favorite creators. His name's Dan Mace. He tweeted 2 photos, basically the same composition with an iPhone 12 and an iPhone 13, and he asked them which phone was which phone. And the funniest part is that people in the replies thought that he was actually trolling. They were replying saying, bro, it's the same photo, you're trying to trick us. It wasn't, but the fact that that was what all the replies were just proves to me that the iPhone 13's cameras improvements are just not enough to wow me. That being said, I think the big difference here is the cinematic mode. Now, we've all wanted this in a phone camera, being able to control the aperture, being able to control the depth of field in a camera in our phones. I mean, it makes it look way better. We can talk about the success of portrait mode and how innovative that was when that came out. So it only made sense that eventually we would get that in the video aspect of the phone. But you know, I think that as creators, we know that video and photo have so many different intricacies that we never actually thought that like a cinematic mode for the iPhone or any phone would come. I never thought that an iPhone would be able to actually pull it off or maybe create an image that was that good. And look, when I watched the release event, I thought, wow, this is actually really sick. The way they're using it looks really cool. This is amazing. But at the same time, I knew that this was the best that it was gonna be. I don't know, in my opinion, it wasn't crazy. Now, when you watch an event like that, you know that they're hiring the best people who've studied these cameras for a while now, people who played with it, to create these shoots that were specifically tailor-made for this camera. You have to take those things in with a grain of salt and understand that like this is the best possible outcome. And you know, I think I was proven right when I started scrolling through Twitter and seeing people use this in real time as these weeks have gone by since the release of the 13. Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing this video of somebody at a wedding trying to film like the couple dancing, and it showed just how much trouble the autofocus has within the camera. I mean, look, I get it. There's so many professional cameras that struggle with autofocus right now. I mean, this is all manual focus because I still don't trust autofocus in most cameras. Yeah, I understand that there'd be some issues within launch. The way I saw it was, I'm not gonna want a feature that is just gonna frustrate me. So what I'm personally choosing to do is wait and hold off and keep my beautiful iPhone 11 Pro Max that I just love oh so much until that's done correctly. The good news is that it probably will be done correctly via updates. It's a software change that will be. So hey, I'm optimistic and I'm hoping that they fix that soon and they improve it and continue to improve it. The last thing that the new iPhones improved on was the battery life. The battery life is supposed to be like way better. That's great. That's a great improvement. When you improve battery on anything, that's always, you know, wanted. As a Pro Max user forever, that doesn't really affect me. My 11 Pro Max still holds a charge, sometimes over a day into the next day. I charge it every night, but I never charge it at 0. It never dies. It never goes under 10%. That's just how it is. So for me, battery isn't a huge deal. And I think for anyone who owns one of the bigger devices, it's not a big deal. But this is great for anybody who likes the mini or likes the regular phone. I mean, obviously, battery life being optimized and used better is always a great sign. But again, another example of how underwhelming this is. They improved the cameras, the battery life, and the chip, the speed of it. I don't know about you, but I remember a day in the tech age where Apple was pushing the envelope in every part that it could be pushed. I remember when the release of the iPhone 4 came out and it was like the best phone anybody could get and it was the craze. The 5S, I remember that phone. I remember watching the Steve Jobs documentary and seeing how impactful the Macintosh was when that was released. Apple has always been the cutting edge of technology. But when it comes to user experience and design, as a content creator, that's what I always liked Apple for. It was always this beautiful, new, innovative thing. And over the since probably the iPhone 10's release, iPhone has kind of like plateaued. I know that's a crazy statement to make, especially when they're still making so many improvements on, you know, the computers and the speed and all this stuff. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just that they're making changes in parts that aren't so glamorous. But I am waiting for the new release that comes out that is game changing. Like how they just did with the iPad mini 6. I mean, that was a huge change and a huge thing for Apple and for iPad users. But we haven't seen that in a phone for a while, since the 10, like 4 years, right? Something like that, for a couple years at least. The iPhone 13 is simply an S upgrade. There's not too much that is changed. There isn't a redesign. There isn't anything huge. And look, this may sound naive to some of you who are like, you know, nerds when it comes to this stuff. Trust me, I love me some tech, but I don't know, man. Nowadays, with prices of phones rising and, you know, having to spend, you know, over $1,000 for a decent phone, I've been a lot more careful about what I choose to carry with me every day. You know, I see phones like the Galaxy or the Samsung Flip. Those phones, that one caught my attention. The Pixel, doing some new, you know, innovative things there. When I look at Apple and the progression that it's going in the mobile front, I get more excited about the iPads. I get more excited about their computers. I get more excited about their headphones than the phone. And who knows what it is, man. Maybe iPhone has just reached the level to where it can go on cruise control and it's just that good nowadays that it doesn't have to worry about constantly innovating. And you know what? I've been happy for 2 years, 3 years with this thing. So maybe that's the case. But in terms of selling new products, I just won't be participating in that until there is a significant change in how it's done. This may sound like I'm bagging on Apple, but kudos to Apple for making such good quality products that I can use for years. I remember that the MacBook, when I was looking at getting my first computer and my parents were helping me find one, that MacBook had the reputation of being durable. People were using MacBooks from 2012 and 2016, 17, but it was so reliable that it made sense. And you know what? I think that's finally happening with the iPhones. Until a new change comes, I'm gonna stick with my iPhone 11 Pro Max. Although I have been thinking about going for an iPhone mini now that I have this iPad. I don't know. I just feel like that would be a cool little combination to have. But yeah, man, what are your thoughts on the new iPhone lineups as you've simmered and watched, you know, every tech YouTuber that I'm sure you've watched already? So do you own the 13? And if you do, did you notice a significant change from your last phone to this one? And if you did, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I love hearing y'all's opinions and what you have to say about these things, and honestly learning from you guys. Remember, hit subscribe and like before you guys leave, and make sure you send this in your favorite group chat with your favorite people, because that helps the channel a lot. But mainly hit like and subscribe, and remember, stay grateful. Sometimes everything just gets